we were so overstimulated by this dog running around, and this was our first one. We really weren't entirely prepared. This dog did us in, and I remember sitting on the couch with him, and we were zombies. Like, we were totally zonked out. We were so tired, and this dog was just whoosh, 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 whoosh across the room. Like, we had nothing left. We were like, oh my God, was this a terrible idea? What did we do?
This is the FAQS Podcast, helping to inspire you to foster a pet. I'm Sam from St. Hubert's.
And I'm Nicole from Humane Rescue Alliance.
And I'm Caitlin.
Today we have Caitlin, who is a foster for St. Hubert's. Caitlin, I'm excited to talk to you today because your foster recently got adopted. So I'd love to just jump in on right there and talk about Spider, who was one of our long-stay senior dogs. When I started my role here at St. Hubert's, he was there, and it's been 7 months for me, and he finally got adopted.
I believe he started at the shelter in like January, which would make him a nearly year-long resident there. We were one of the families that got the opportunity to foster him. A few other people did as well, and he was a wonderful house guest for all of us. But it was really, really, really exciting when he finally got adopted after that long. He just had a very specific set of needs that weren't the best fit for everybody. So when there was finally like a person that met their match, because he was such a lovely dog, he was such a lovely companion. Yeah, that was thrilling. And you had come over and helped to make that Instagram reel, which was phenomenal, by the way. That was a lot of fun to watch. And we got footage from the foster staff when he was on TV. There was like a little guest spot that they had him on the news. So we got to see Spider on the news, and we got to see Spider all over Instagram. So that was a really fun, journey for us too, to kind of just watch what happened for him, and a really exciting ending too.
That's amazing. I believe he also started at Humane Rescue Alliance in DC for a little bit. Yeah, so I remember him being an amazing dog, and we really were trying hard to get him adopted, but it just goes to show sometimes it's just not the right place for them, and there is a home out there for them. So we were all really excited to see that he got adopted. So
I think there was a collective cheer among, it sounds like, multiple shelters across miles of space, and different team members of a lot of people being really joyous for this dog. Yeah, absolutely.
So how long have you been fostering for? This isn't your first foster. You've had multiple.
Right. So this is our 11th from St. Hubert's. And when I say our, I mean me and my husband, Kris. I started fostering initially about 15 years ago for a different shelter, doing cats specifically. And that was wonderful. And I fostered cats for maybe 10 years or so. And at the time I started because I loved cats, and I lived alone, and I loved the opportunity to volunteer, and I could really use some companionship around my little apartment, but I traveled a lot for work, so I couldn't commit to having my own pet, and definitely not a dog. So I fostered cats, and that was spectacular. It was a really great way for me to, kind of have my like bridge the gap there, especially while I was bopping around for work purposes. But then I moved and got married, and my husband is allergic to cats. So now we foster dogs. and I switched shelters, and I fostered with St. Hubert's. I gotta say, I didn't expect I'd ever say this, but I do think I'm a dog person now. And we've had 11 fosters from St. Hubert's, and we're getting very exciting news. I agreed earlier today to take a litter of puppies this week. So this will be our first time with puppies. We'll be taking 5 shepherd puppies in a couple days.
Oh my gosh, I got that email too, and I'm like, I'm so jealous. I want to do this.
Girl, come over and visit. You want to snuggle some puppies?
Absolutely.
I mean, as if you don't get enough dog time in your line of work.
There's never enough. That's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, and a litter of puppies, that's a lot of work. So kudos to you, because you're gonna have your hands full, but it's so rewarding. It's amazing to be able to see them grow up and like be there from the beginning and help them find their home. So
all of our friends are already making appointments to stop by. Yep.
Yay. Yeah, that's the easiest. You're like, do you guys want to come over, snuggle puppies? Because of course you do. So
pretty sure half the neighborhood will be here.
Yep.
Wow. So fostering a litter is different than fostering one dog at a time. what did you do to kind of like prepare for that? Because I know the email just came in like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, honestly, this will be our first time with puppies. I've fostered kittens before, so I'm no stranger to newborn critters, but I've never done puppies before, and neither is my husband. So this particular engagement was a shorter term because of the age of those puppies. They only need a foster for about a week, which seemed like a really safe trial run for us. The ability to give it a shot and vibe out if we're puppy people or not, so we can hopefully take more puppies in the future or know firmly it ain't for us. So I'll have to update that in a future episode, but we are really psyched to have these puppies. And we just had to talk through like how to make sure we have safe space for them in the house, just because they are like, I mean, we try to make sure there's safe space in the house for every dog. But like you said, 5 is a little different than 1. So that was the biggest concern there, was just making sure we can corral them and make space for them that's going to be easy to clean, and easy to keep an eye on them, and easy to corral them if our hands are full trying to deal with one and there's 2 or 3 others trying to go in different directions. So between that and chatting with the foster team to make sure we had the supplies that we need, they're going to be providing us with like a pen to help keep them in a nice little safe spot. We are ready for the adventure.
I was gonna say a pen that's a lifesaver.
That
makes a huge difference. So thankfully, with a pen, I think you'll be really pretty set. So
I appreciate that insight. Thank you,
Nicole. Have you fostered puppies?
I mean, I fostered a puppy that ended up being a foster fail. So I have experience with being obsessed with little puppy, but it was just one. So it was a lot of work, but I am very used to taking care of dogs and puppies. So it wasn't too scary for me, but yeah, a pen is absolutely the thing I recommend everyone have, even if they have older dogs. So, I mean, and honestly, fostering a puppy, it is a lot of hard work. And a lot of the times I'm like, I feel like a mother of a newborn child, but it's rewarding. And I mean, they just honestly are just there to get love and be fed and play a little bit. They're not even in their stage of getting super crazy yet. So
how old is your puppy that's definitely not a puppy anymore?
Well, honestly, I just adopted her beginning of this year. So now she just turned about 1. She should be like a one month, we're thinking. She still has puppy energy. She's a small breed, so she's very much crazy, but we love her, so it's absolutely worth it. But yeah,
I'm curious what the difference will be from like fostering like adult dogs to like a litter of 5 puppies. Like I wish I could. I went to the foster event and I met kitten fosters. So there was this one woman who I spoke to who just absolutely loves helping kittens, especially the ones who need extra attention for medical reasons. And I wish I could like forward that information to you so you guys can like so you can like ask her questions and stuff. What kind of resources is the foster team providing to like help you for this like new experience?
The foster team is fabulous with every situation that we've ever gotten into, knowingly or unknowingly. They've been a phenomenal resource. And we've been fostering for St. Hubert's for, for almost 5 years now. So we've had the opportunity to forge some relationships with folks on the foster team. And they've never been short of anything short of kind and thoughtful and helpful, whether they were setting us up for success or if we were calling them in like a SOS, what do we do situation. They've been great. So for the puppies in particular, it was chatting with somebody to just kind of get the scoop on the dogs and do they need anything special? How old are they? How big are they? What do we know? What do we don't know? And then requesting any special supplies that we needed, which for us was the pen. We really just need that pen to kind of make everything work. And they also forwarded over some information. They have a puppy packet. So they forwarded over their puppy packet, which gives kind of just some good starter information on puppies. But we also know that they're just available for us whenever we need any questions that arise. They've been pretty great, and we feel really comfortable reaching out to them for support when we need it.
Awesome. What was your biggest concern when you started fostering? Because I know a lot of people are either afraid of the commitment or afraid of fostering an animal that they've never owned before. what was your biggest concern and how did you kind of go about that? How did you answer that for yourself or figure that out?
That's interesting. I don't know that I had any major concerns because I'd already tested the waters fostering cats by myself, that getting into working with dogs with my husband, I think it was honestly more so, how is he going to do with the dogs and how are the dogs going to do with him and how are we going to do this as a team? So I think there was more for me at home to think about and talk about than there really was in terms of deciding whether or not I wanted to foster. I was already sold. But on those two notes, as far as like, being concerned about the time commitment, which is valid because on one hand, it's a really profound commitment to take care of a living, loving creature in your home who needs you. But also, it's a pretty short-term commitment. So I'd say dive into it, really. Like, we've never been in a situation where we had a foster that we were like, oh my God, please like take this foster back, and we were stuck with them. Like, that has literally never happened. We have taken fosters that weren't a good fit for our home for some reason, or had behaviors that that were like beyond our capabilities. We had one dog that it turns out didn't like men, and we didn't know that until we got her home and she met my husband, and then all right, this isn't going to work out. And the St. Hubert's staff, again, they were fantastic. We gave them a call and they were like, oh, no, that's not going to work. Let's swap you out with another animal. So as far as the commitment, I feel like it's the easiest big commitment you'll ever make, if that makes any sense. So I'd really just dive in and do it. But I'd also say, like, talk to the foster team, because we've had bouts of having different boundaries around what we had the capacity for at certain times. And just being straightforward with the foster team, they've been able to connect us with, all right, well, these are the animals that are within those boundaries that would still really help us to have a foster for. And always were able to come to a conclusion that felt mutually beneficial and still really supported. So yeah, I would absolutely say just speak with the team. Just be honest about what you need. I really think there's a way through it. And then what was the other concern? Was it sort of behavioral? Like, are you hearing concerns that people, like, they just don't know this animal, so they're concerned about taking?
Yeah. So what I've seen a lot is that a lot of the times, I mean, people, they kind of go into fostering and with a really amazing heart, and they go into it and they don't really realize that there is a little bit of training and some kind of adjustment that you have to make with a completely new animal, just like a human being that goes into a strange environment. There's adjusting and getting to know them. So, I mean, what I have noticed for us is just a lot of like behavior. Oh, like they're jumping, or they like seem excited, or they seem like not happy. They just like are just not doing anything. It's like, just give it a little bit more time. And I know. And then sometimes people just also are afraid of that commitment. They think that it's just, you have this dog or this animal and you're just stuck. And like you're saying, it's supposed to be helpful for everyone. You're not supposed to feel like you're stuck. You're not supposed to feel like you don't have any resources. So I completely agree. It's amazing. Be as open as you need to be with the foster staff and let them know what you can or can't do. And they'll be there and willing to help you out. They'll say, okay, that is not a good fit. You're completely right. Let's go switch this out. And if you realize within a few days you are not a person that wants to foster, you don't have to do it. You can return the animal. And like at the very least, the animal had a nice little field trip or a nice sleepover in a home outside of the shelter, and that's amazing. So yeah, I think it's just mostly time. A lot of people just kind of don't realize that they can be flexible, or we can be flexible with what they want to do with their lives. And we know everybody has their own life and like their own situation. So
I'll admit, the first dog foster we took, I vividly remember the first night with that first foster. And this was my husband's first foster ever. And we took a higher energy dog, which was our lesson that is not a good fit for us. And we were so overstimulated by this dog running around, and this was our first one. We really weren't entirely prepared. At this point, we are battle tested. We've got like dog kits ready to go that we just pull out whenever we have a new one. We are set up. We have our systems. We have our plan. We've learned different skills. We've become better trainers for the dogs. We've just become better guardians for them over time. But that first day, when we had absolutely none of that set up, this dog did us in. And I remember sitting on the couch with him, and we were zombies. Like we were totally zonked out. We were so tired. And this dog was just whoosh, 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 whoosh across the room as we just pointed the remote at the TV and flipped through dog training videos for like 40 minutes. Like we had nothing left. We were like, oh my God, was this a terrible idea? What did we do? In retrospect, I can see that dog was also overstimulated because it's in a fresh environment and it's really excited. It was a younger dog that we just didn't really know a lot about the different kinds of, like sort of how dogs age and the different kinds of breeds and the different behaviors you'll see across breeds or across ages. We didn't know any of that yet. So it was just, everything felt like a big question mark, and it did feel a little bit overwhelming. That was just night number one. The dog settled down, had a nice evening, and we all got on fine from there. And that dog found a great home with somebody who was really excited to have that kind of energy. We didn't regret it at all, but we did have one moment of sitting on the couch going, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Like, are we cut out for this? And it was fine. It was smooth sailing. Since then, we've adjusted and, decided that we're just not going to take higher energy dogs. Like, they're just not the best for our household. So we've taken mostly senior dogs and a lot of dogs with medical issues. So this taking these puppies is going to be a huge departure for us. But in terms of not knowing, like, the animal that's going to come in to your home, this is something I really love about fostering for St. Hubert's in particular, as opposed to other shelters, is that because they're well-funded and because they have a behavioral team, those dogs have been seen and figured out to some level and then posted somewhere where you can choose based on your own parameters. So we can look through the Trello board where they're posted, and say, hey, these 3 look like a great fit for us. Do you, hey, foster team, is there one in particular you think would be best? And there usually is. We've also had the circumstance of being able to go in and actually just meet a couple dogs and say, hey, actually, this one feels really good. We'll take this one home. So it's not like taking an animal completely sight unseen where you could get anything on the spectrum. You definitely go into it having some sense of like their personality, at least generally speaking, and the opportunity to kind of like vibe them out in person. And again, out of 11 fosters, only one was a truly like, oh, this is not going to work and needs to go back. There's only 1 out of 11. And there was no judgment on the part of the foster team. They were completely understanding and supportive and agreed with the situation and helped us out of it. And I didn't have to feel bad about it in any way. Like, so I feel like they're providing the safety net that I need to be like, and just enough information to say like, okay, this is probably going to be fine. It'll probably be great actually, but it'll probably be fine. I'm willing to take this jump. And I know I have a safety net if everything goes horribly wrong, which it probably won't, but I have that safety net. And that makes me feel a lot better about fostering with St. Hubert's as opposed to some other shelters I've worked with.
For sure. Yeah. And even like with adopting, I know, Sam, that you recently, well, I guess not that recently, but you adopted too. So it's kind of like you go into it and you meet an animal, and they could be completely different when you're meeting them in the shelter or an event that you're at. And then you go home and then you're getting to know them and you're like, oh, okay, this is who you are now. Like that's fine. And I mean, animals acclimate. They will get used to your routine as long as you're consistent and you give them a routine and they'll get used to it. I mean, I love sleeping. My dogs love napping now too. So that's just, they get used to it. And I don't know. I mean, Sam, I know that your dog, he's a little higher energy, isn't he? Or is he getting more used to your routine?
Oh yeah, he gets the zoomies, but yeah, he's just such a couch potato. He just sits there. Like I was sitting on the couch earlier, and he just like hopped on and like went to sleep, and I was like, okay. Yesterday I was trying to play with him because it was the weekend, and I was like, hey, you want to play fetch? And he was just like sleeping. I'm like, okay.
I love a good couch potato dog. Those are high on our preference list. Yeah, give me an old fart, a couch potato.
Well, my guy's like a year and a half.
Oh, all right.
So it's a little early for him.
Well, I'm telling you, they get used to your routine. They're like, you know what? We like to relax. You're cool. I'm cool. Let's just hang out then. We're happy here.
Well, going off of what both of you have shared, like my experience in adopting was that I already had two couch potatoes and I wanted someone a little bit more active. I did fall in love with a dog who was fostered, and we did a meet and greet with our foster and behavior team. So like we had a lot of support to like make the right decision, and it turned out that that wasn't a good fit. And now I have my dog Dewey, and who was what I wanted, but I didn't know I wasn't.
Yeah, I think with the same thing that Kaylin, you were saying, with when you get a foster, you have kind of a list of what they need, what they like, who the animal is, pretty much, and it can be different when they get into your home. But the amazing part about fosters is that because the foster is there with them in a home environment, you can learn a lot from them. So even if you say, you know what, that was not a good fit, or they don't like men, like you just bring them back, and then the shelter knows that you're like, you know what, their future home, probably no men, or at least maybe like, at least let's start with no men, and then we can like slowly work on that. But that's huge. Like even if you feel like, oh, it didn't work out, it at the end of the day, it kind of did help them. It did still give you a little bit more insight on who the animal is and what they need. So
yeah, that's something I didn't understand until recently, quite frankly, is just how valuable it. I needed the people on the foster team to say this a couple times before I believed it, like how useful it was for them at the end of a foster, whether we fostered them until they were adopted or fostered them for a more limited time and had to bring them back for whatever reason. Sometimes either it wasn't a good fit or we were, it bumped into some travel plans we had. They didn't get adopted before vacation. We needed to bring them back by a certain date, whatever. The foster team would let us know, like, yeah, but the information you gave us on the questionnaire that they typically have us fill out a questionnaire when we bring when we're wrapping up with a foster, to kind of just tell them all about the foster. And like, I didn't get how useful that was internally in the foster team. But now I'm quite pleased to fill out my little questionnaires at the end and, give as much helpful information as I can.
Yeah, and even for marketing. I mean, Sam and I, we use a lot of the notes from like in the shelter. We will have to kind of resort to that if we don't have many notes from fosters and stuff. But at least for me, I usually will go based on what the foster said. Even if it's a temporary foster, I want to show off what the dog is actually like in a home when they're not in a stressful environment, because it's just not fair to them, like at all. They're in the shelter no matter what, like even if they're being loved on all day 24/7 by staff, that's not a fun environment to be in. So for me, I like to look at the notes and see what fosters or temporary fosters or even like people that take them out on field trips have to say, because that's them showing off their true personality and when they're finally comfortable and feel safe. So we'll use that a lot based to like show them off and tell people this is who this dog is or why you should adopt them.
So how would you guys describe the kennel environment? I have at this point been through and I get it now, but there was a point in time where I had heard what you're saying, like, oh, there's so much different in the shelter because the kennel environment, it's not fun, right? But I had only ever seen the front lobby, maybe the cat room, so it was hard for me to understand really what that means because I had an experience being in the kennel, and I imagine you're going to have some listeners who feel the same, where like they just don't have the lived experience to really get why the kennel is so stressful.
To that, I would say watch the spider video. Like go to our like Instagram or Facebook feed and just like scroll and find Spider's featured week and like look at like kind of like how he behaves in shelter with me and then like how he is in Caitlin's home, and it's like night and day.
Yeah.
He's like definitely one of my favorite stories to date.
As much as you try, like how dogs can get messy very quickly and loud when they hear other dogs. So it's loud and there's just a lot of smells. There's just a lot of noise, but no matter how much we try to go into every single, like you can go and look in the kennel and it's like perfectly clean. They have all the blankets, all their toys, and the dog is still in there, like sad and just frustrated and overwhelmed and overstimulated. And I've gone in multiple times to like try to play with them or like take them out and stuff. And even then, like they're just all just like looking around, like, where am I? What's happening? It's just, honestly, I really do think it's mostly the smells and the noise of it. Like they don't even see the other animals. All they hear is the noises and they see people constantly coming and going. So at the end of the day, an animal's just going to want to have a nice home, a stable environment, people that they know they're going to take care of them no matter what, and they just know
And
who
quiet.
the pack is. Yeah. And so like it's yeah, I would say for sure you can definitely see in stories like Spider versus how he was in the kennel versus in a foster home. It's a huge difference. It's just completely night and day.
He was a completely different dog. We were so surprised by the end of, he was with us for a full month. By the end of that time, like we would have had no idea that he was such a gem. I mean, he was great from the start, but a gem, a real gem. But he couldn't present like that in a kennel situation, and it took him some time to come home and like decompress. And he was so playful, and nobody knew how playful he was because he wasn't like that in the shelter. And what struck me about the kennel, in being around St. Hubert's, and the animals are phenomenally taken care of, and the kennel attendants do a great job, but how loud it was. And like I imagined as if I went to like a music festival or something, like something with like a lot of other people around, and like it could be really cool, but also if you could never go home, how grating that would be.
I would describe it as like if the dogs were living in a stadium where they were playing like rock concerts.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the music, they're just like, why am I here? Like they literally have no idea. So,
and the music never turns off. It's always loud. You don't know exactly where it's coming from. You can't see the other dot. Like it's felt so like the audio experience of that. Like, of course they're stressed. Yeah. and it made a lot more sense after I had kind of heard it myself and gone, oh yeah, I wouldn't like to be here either. As lovely as St. Hubert's is, to just live in the kennels there, I think I would be a different version of myself too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just like being able to be in a home and have that specific attention, because animals need that. They need no matter how much attention we give them, it's always going to be divided. Our animal care staff is incredible, but they have to go through hundreds of dogs. And so it's as much as we want to give them all the attention, the volunteers are doing as much as possible. They don't get enough attention at the end of the day. And that's the goal of us trying to get them into foster homes, get them that spotlight, that care that they deserve, and be able to show off who they really are.
So I think we did a good job of talking about the benefits of fostering for the dog. But Caitlin, can you share what has been some of the benefits for you as a foster?
Sure. So when I first started, which would have been in my early 20s with the cats at not with St. Hubert's though, the benefit was being able to enjoy the company. It was like having a pet without the commitment. Remember, I was traveling a lot for work and I really couldn't commit to an animal full time, but I still got the joy of coming home to a cat and taking care of them and different ones over time. And there was a lot of just joy in it made that available to me where it just could not have been otherwise. My life just was not set up for a pet at that time. And I had no idea when it was going to be set up for a pet. So it's not like I could have just said, oh, well, in a year, I had no idea what was happening. I was just trying to figure out my life, right? Now that I'm a little older and more established and married and we have a house, and this was a surprise to me, but the big benefit outside of just, of course, the joy of having these dogs around was the community aspect of it. I didn't expect that going into it, but it's been really lovely between the relationships I've been able to forge with the foster team, just getting to know the people who work there over and over years, and in the community here at home, like in our neighborhood. So, all right, for example, right, we're taking these puppies on Thursday and my friends really are already making appointments to come by. I think sometimes they come by just to hang out with the dogs. Like and it's fun for them. Like they want to know who like the latest edition is and they all get really pumped to come over and like hang out, right? Or when we're walking around the neighborhood, wherever we bring the dogs, like at this point we have our route that we walk and neighbors come outside to just like meet the latest dog on the leash and ask about it. Or if we walk by without one, like, oh, did they get adopted? What's the story? Like there's just people. Oh my goodness, I've actually had, it was a foster named Dreamboat. I don't know if you had met Dreamboat, Sam. But I had several people stop their cars in the middle of the road to talk to me and be like, that dog is so beautiful. So just like the community aspect of it, both with the shelter team and in our neighborhood and with our friends, being able to have my nieces and nephews come over. I can't wait to tell them to be like, oh my God, do you guys want to come over and like play with some puppies? And we're all going to hang out together and snuggle some puppies. Like that was a really pleasant benefit to me that I wouldn't have been able to conceive of before actually just experiencing it myself.
Yeah, and it's amazing to be able to build a community and be part of a community of animal lovers, people that want to do as much as possible to help these animals. And I mean, like we have like Facebook groups and stuff that our fosters will kind of go in and just say, hey, like we have an extra crate. Like, does anybody need this? Or, hey, we're about to foster this dog that we've never fostered before. It's an older dog. Like, does anybody have any supplies? And everybody's jumping, going, oh my God, we have so many things. Like, let me know if you need a sitter. Like, it's amazing. And that kind of honestly leads me to my next question. I know that it's so rewarding, but I don't know if you've been able to recruit any of your friends or anybody around you to foster. And like, do you usually try to, or do they ask questions when they see you that you're fostering and like are interested in it?
Definitely. So I haven't successfully converted anyone yet. Give me some time. I'm working on it. But no, I don't push anybody to do it because everybody's at a different point. And some people, honestly, the biggest concern that I hear from people is just that they're concerned they'll get too attached. That's what I hear more than anything. But they're welcome to come over and hang out with whoever is in our crew at the time, whatever house guests we have at the moment. That's been working out just fine. But they definitely ask questions. People are curious about it. I'm surprised how many people still don't know that fostering is an option. So I recommend it to anyone who will listen and answer all their questions. But also you can kind of just hang out with whoever we've got. And that's cool too.
Yeah. I'm sure it feels rewarding too, to have people ask you and you let them know. Like, no, I mean, it's an incredible experience. And yeah, you do get attached, but also you realize at the end, I guess once you're doing it too, it's not something you can like foresee that you're going to be attached. No, I'm going to think, okay, I'm helping them. You can tell yourself that, but in the moment, obviously it's always going to be sad. It's going to be bittersweet, but it's easier when you're actually in it. And then you think, okay, I found a wonderful home for this animal. I'm going to let them go and I will be sad probably. But at the end of the day, you're going to know, wow, they're in an incredible home. I mean, I fostered a senior dog recently too. And knowing that she's in a home that she's so loved, she has another senior little buddy, she has a little sister now, and like it's incredible. Like I love her, but it's so nice to know that she's in a very happy home, and that's the goal. I mean, the goal again is to say goodbye. So, to
be frank, I do cry for most of their departures.
Oh yeah,
but it's okay. Like it's honestly just become part of my process for creating my own closure for what kind of feels like a loss sometimes. We've had some dogs we had one for 6 months. Like we've had some long, experiences with dogs, especially the ones with more complex medical needs, who just can't be adopted yet because there's something they're working through. And yeah, it can be really sad to say goodbye to them, but every single adoption feels like such a win. And that's what I'm like, okay, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with being sad and like crying and saying goodbye to like, this creature I've formed such a relationship with. And I do feel a sense of like loss about it. And I miss them the next day when I wake up and they're not there. That's sad. And I keep doing it anyway, because it's really, really, really rewarding to be able to place them in a great home and like to tally up your wins and be able to be like, yes, adopted, you're adopted, and you're adopted, and you're adopted. And like, it's really, oh man, I really thrive on it. How many dogs have
been able to get adopted? That's like so awesome. Like just knowing that that's what you were able to do and you were able to be part of that process. And also, even if it is, you still are sad about it. Like how amazing it is that you just gave it a shelter animal that did not have a home, did not probably feel as loved as they should have felt, but now they are so loved that there's someone crying over them that they're leaving their home. So like, it's an incredible experience no matter what. It could be sad for you, but I mean, they've gone through a lot. So
Caitlin, you've had 11 wins and 5 to come. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for one, the new fosters, like people who've never fostered before and are about to jump in or like on the verge of like submitting that application? And then what's your advice to the ones who are still fostering, like they fostered before, and like how to keep going?
My biggest advice for those who are considering, I'm going to say I've got 2 pieces, and I have mentioned them before, but we're going to recap them, is if you're thinking about it, give it a shot. Like, what's the worst that can happen? There's so much safety net built in that, like, it's safe. Give it a shot. See if you like it. Find out. If you don't, okay. If you love it, oh my God, you love it. Like, what an incredible thing you've just discovered for yourself. And the other piece of advice would be to communicate with the foster team. Like, just be straightforward. Be honest with what you can do. Be honest with what you're nervous about. Be honest with what you need from them to be able to do a great job and feel secure in your role as a volunteer. Being able to, you know what, if I could revise my answer and start over, it would be to consider the foster team your collaborators. Like, they are there. This is a symbiotic relationship where you both have the same goal. They have resources that you don't know about. They have a ton of experience and have fielded so many of these requests and concerns and different kind of dog personalities before. They have access to different teams through St. Hubert's, right? So like when we have medical questions, the foster team's like, all right, well, we'll talk to medical, or we'll talk to behavioral, or we'll talk to so-and-so, we'll talk to their last foster, we'll, whatever. Like, they have such reach and such ability to support you, and being in collaboration with them serves both sides really well.
It's good to recap that and kind of like drill that in people's minds. Like, what is there to lose? Like, it seems so much easier said than done, but I mean, we are here to help the fosters. We're here to help people help these animals. So it is just, honestly, just go for it. Like, what's there to lose? Like, you maybe just decide it's not going to work out, or you want a different animal, but then you realize that, and that's, you can do that. You can change your mind. It's totally okay.
And with the number of people who reported quote unquote foster fails to me, apparently most people are having a great time once they dive into fostering.
They also have like new resources now. Like, so St. Hubert's has the behavior team, the medical team, the foster team, but now they have the social team, like myself. Ooh. We go in and we do social media content for the fosters, but we also now have this podcast so that if you have any questions, you can actually listen to other fosters share their experience.
Yeah, we want to build a community and try to help, like, show people that there are other people that are also as concerned. And sometimes you think, okay, well, why would I foster? Why should I do it? Like, I don't know if I'm really capable of it. It's like, there's so many people that are just like you that have jumped into it, and you know what? They're happy and they're doing it. So why not?
Yeah, why not? Let's go pet some dogs.
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Caitlin.
Gladly. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Right, this has been Sam from St. Hubert's.
And Nicole from Humane Rescue Alliance.
And Caitlin from New Jersey.
You're listening to Foster Facts, and we hope this inspired you to foster.